Hey, Diane.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. Everyone, I want you to meet Diane Cunningham Ellis. She's a friend of mine. She's also a life coach and was a good friend of mine when I lived in Texas. We shared an office together which is kind of ironic that I have you on here because we shared an office when I was doing my everydayexperiences.com talk show a long time ago. So it's fitting that you're here, talking to me on this first show of everyday experiences. I'm kind of calling it real talk because that's what I want us to do. Just have a real conversation about life, what's going on in our lives. So you want to share a little bit about who you are and kind of what you do so people kind of understand that?
Yeah, I'm Diane Cunningham Ellis. My website is dianecunningham.com. And yeah, I am a former counselor. I have a master's degree in counseling. And but most now I don't counsel anymore. I coach. I'm a coach. I'm a speaker, coach, author. I have just done my 10th self-published book, and 3 of those have been in the last 3 months. So I am a busy girl, coaching, leading, teaching, and I'm a woman in recovery. I've got almost 7 years of recovery from alcoholism. I also am in recovery from food and dieting addiction. I know we're going to get into some of this as well. I am a wife, and I am also a woman that I like to have fun, and I really enjoy you, and we have been friends a long time, and all of my great fun friend memories of you are coming back to me right now. So I'm looking forward to this real chat.
Yes. Yeah. So, when we were hanging out a lot, when I was in Texas, we would go out and have fun, and you were drinking then. And so tell me about kind of your road to, or kind of how you got to the place where one day you said, yeah, I don't need to drink anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with alcoholism, it is, we call it a subtle foe. And cunning, baffling, and powerful is what you always hear in the movies, right? And so it is. And I was a very functional alcoholic and never ended up in jail by the grace of God, thank you.
Yeah.
But I could have and maybe should have, I'm not sure. But I drank. I was a really great workaholic all day. You can attest to that, and still maybe struggle with that some, but way less. And also, and then I didn't realize I was anxious, because by the time I got anxious in the afternoon, it was almost time to drink.
Yeah.
It was almost time to relieve that anxiety, and that first drink helps with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got worse after my divorce. It was, I didn't have any children. That wasn't a gift that God gave me. And so I had lost my husband. I'd lost my dog. I had no children, and the drinking kind of was able to, go higher because no one was watching me.
Yeah.
No one was watching me. And of course, you knew me during this season. And so you know me before, during, and after.
Yeah.
And so it got, and they say with women, I mean, it can ramp up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a whole section in our AA literature about, and it's to women, talking about how it looks differently for women. And so I think it did really ramp up pretty quickly in a year or two. Yeah. And I drank daily. When you finally stop and you look back and you do the math, you're like, wow, I think I drank every single day, at least 1 or 1, 2, yeah, whatever, sometimes 10. But it was normally 1 or 2 because I had some balance or some limits. But I realized I had been drinking like that for 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking back, we worked in the office together every day. Before that, we were at MSU together every day, with offices side by side. And then we would go out together in the evenings and, do different things. And I never really, especially at the beginning when I was first around you, like, I wasn't a big drinker. Do you remember the first time we went to Don Jose's? Yes. And so, I saw just how hard you worked. And so I didn't really understand until a few years into our friendship, kind of the functional alcoholic way. You have this preconceived notion of what an alcoholic looks like. And I'm hearing that that's like how we can trick ourselves.
Yes.
Because you're going to work every day, you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, but yet here's this overwhelming cloud that kind of is there, that's the focus, even though you're going through life and no one notices. You show up, you have fun, you're still helping people, you were coaching, you were doing, providing a lot of value for people. So I get that. I see how it can really be tricky. So tell me about I'm guessing it was a day, I kind of know the story, but a day or a moment where you had that, like, okay, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there was a couple of those moments, and it gets harder and harder to ignore your own truth.
Yeah.
And we all know that. And we can lie to we're really good at lying, and denial is really great. We love it, even though none of us think we're doing it.
It's so funny.
Right? None of us, we believe the lies we tell ourselves.
That's right.
And so it started getting embarrassing. Like so what happened for me, my sobriety date is June 19th. My last drunk, we call it our last drunk. Okay. My last drunk was June 18th of 2013. So my first sober day is June 19th. I had no idea that is what's called Juneteenth. It's a historical date.
Yes.
It's a day of freedom.
Yeah.
Who knew? I didn't plan it. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had a grand plan, that would be a great day to pick, right? Yeah. Woo. But I didn't know I was slamming towards the end.
Right.
And so the fall before that summer, I had 3 embarrassing weekends, with bruises, with losing my phone, with losing my car keys, with falling down in parking lots. And I remember thinking, I might have a problem. I might have something. And I tried to stop. I had a little moment, where I asked a friend, can I drop all of my booze off at your house? Which they were like, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on. And I, and they talk in the alcoholic literature about, no one can tell you. I mean, some people go to rehab, and you can get diagnosed, or you might have to go to detox. I didn't go that route. I got the alcohol out of my house that point, and then I thought, well, maybe we always say maybe I overcompensated. Maybe I rerouted a little too far here.
Yeah.
And none of your drinking friends want you to stop drinking either.
Right.
And so then I thought, well, maybe I can just go out with some boundaries, some limits. Maybe just 2 drink limit. Okay, cool. And that maybe worked one day or two, Yeah.
and so, yes, you're back.
Yeah. And so then I continued on the journey, and so the end came that next summer, like I said, and it was bad for me. I mean, it was, again, I drank a liter of tequila on my last drunk, which is a lot, I mean, a shot is a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Could you imagine me? Yes.
Yeah. And I was with my family on a vacation, and it was just bad. I blacked out, or we call it sometimes brownout. And you can remember pieces of the night. And I'm sure I had a hangover for 2 or 3 days, but it was the next day I woke up, I came to, I had done embarrassing, I passed out near a swimming pool. I could have died.
Wow. Yeah.
There was a man that I woke up, and he was near me. There was no one else around. I could have been raped.
Yeah.
I I believe that man stole my phone. I couldn't find my own phone. There was many things that happened that night that really were what we call incomprehensible demoralization.
Yeah.
And that's like a phrase I never want to forget, because I felt disgusted. I felt humiliated. I felt horrified.
Yeah.
And I can feel it right now in my family seeing me like that. My nieces seeing me like that, my mom, my dad. And that it was that next day that I said, I know I need help. And I know I will get, I will go to AA or what, I didn't, at that point, sometimes it's scary to say I'm an alcoholic,
Yeah.
but you can say, I know I need help. That felt safer.
Yes.
And I didn't know until a week or two later whether I was going to go the Celebrate Recovery route or the AA route. And I made that decision, and I'm really grateful God intervened.
Yeah. 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 There's so much I'm hearing from what you just said. Yeah, that it was a wake up call. It was like, and you felt it. And so many, even if you're watching this and you don't have a severe addiction like this, we all have things in our life that we start to like get. It's the still small voice. Like
Yeah.
something's not right. We don't need to be doing this. This isn't serving our life. And it's easy to allow the loud voice in our head to kind of negate that. And I'm hearing that and we all have seen it. We've all experienced where it gets to the point where it's so loud in our face we can't not listen. Yeah. And had we started when we heard the still small voice the first time, it probably would have looked and been easier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not easier is not the right word, but simpler maybe. Mm-hmm. But we don't. We tend to, and like you said, we start negotiating with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, and this has helped me some, is that with certain things that are not so devastating or potentially could be so devastating, is that we do have to test it. We do have to say, okay, can I do the one drink? Can I eat the one piece of pizza? Can I, whatever it is, can I go 3 days without doing my spiritual practice, even something like that? And then I have to see how it impacts me. I have to look and see how it feels, and I'm hearing that that's kind of what you did from that fall to that summer. It was starting to become aware of how it was really impacting your life. Mm-hmm. And you knew something needed to change, but change is hard. If it was, we'd all probably have a lot different lives, right? And also what I'm hearing is that we have to accept ourselves where we are. And if we pretend that, oh no, it's really not a problem, or, it's not that big of a problem, and I truly believe this, and speak to this if you want to, is that once we, only from a place of truly accepting ourselves where we are, do we have any control to start to change our life.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so what's happened for me too is that a lot of the women I work with now, I've added in this component. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you already know that, but I'm going to say it for the sake of the video, is that I'm not afraid, because my first addiction was food. Mm-hmm. Alcohol came way later. Alcohol was like, later on. Food was easy. Food was what we used to cope with our feelings in my family. So food's my first addiction, always will be. It's easy access.
Yeah.
And, I work with a lot of women that's their go-to as well. I've been a smoker. I've been a drinker. I have been a debtor. I have been to all sorts of 12-step programs, because guess what? There's a program for whoever you are, whatever your situation is. Yeah. And I talk to women about sugar, their sugar addiction, or their games that they play on their phone, or, and they tell me their secrets, and like, it can be oh, I'm drinking Dr. Pepper all day long.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they're, I mean, sugar is an easier, I mean, it's an acceptable.
It's more acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of acceptable addictions that we all just do
Yeah.
and support and dive into with each other, that for me, I have to guard against.
Yeah.
I am off sugar. I'm off certain foods. And like you said, food is harder. Food's like grad school level
Yeah.
of how do you do this? And money is really hard as well. So how do I live a life where there's food in it? We all go out to eat, and we have to shop, and we have to, I can't put the plug in the jug. I mean, the plug's in the jug. I haven't had a drink in many, many days, years, and months. But every day I've got to feed myself. So is there certain foods that I can go eat once or eat when I'm out and not bring into the home, and I'm okay?
Mm-hmm.
And don't want to binge and eat like 500 plates of them.
Yeah.
And it's a daily, we call it a daily reprieve.
Yeah.
And I have a daily reprieve from diet addiction, food addiction, because that looks different for me now than it did before.
Yeah.
And so I'm not afraid. Here's the deal. I'm not afraid to ask a woman, because they know I'm going to ask you, you look successful and yet you weigh 300 pounds. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard question. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to have you tell me, what is that? Like, what exactly are you doing? Because something is not working.
Yeah.
And right now I'm actually enrolled in, I'm always getting new certifications and trainings, but my most current one is the Institute for the Psychology of Eating.
Mm-hmm.
Is it is so perfect for me right now in, how does our overeating, digestion, our mood, our binge behavior, or what did we learn from our parents about eating?
Yeah.
Because they taught us what it means.
Yeah.
And every family, what's normal at your house for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'd be like, what? You eat what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. So there's just so much there. There's so much to learn, so much to unpack. And of course, I'm my best research project.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, first of all, to speak to the food part, that's another show for another time, because I think we could talk about that a lot. And I think there's a lot of people who could gain a lot of value from that. So if you're up for it, then I definitely do want it. And it would help me too, because I'm in the same position right now where I'm in that testing things out. What can I have? What can I not have? And so tell me this. One, I appreciate your willingness to be able to call people out. We all need people in our lives that will call us out. We're not all always ready for that.
Right.
And so, having the intuition to know when somebody is ready is a special gift. So, but tell me this, like with the different addictions, because shopping anything can be an addiction. How do you define an addiction?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's probably some fancy, I'm talking
about Diane's definition of addiction.
Yeah, off the cuff.
Yeah.
So something that's starting to be, I can't make it through a day without that thing, or a week, or it's like I've tried to reduce that thing and I just can't.
Yeah.
I'll say, oh, I'm not going to do blank this week, or I'm not going to do blank today. And I'll use a goofy example, 2 recent ones. I'm always like, what's the next thing? Yeah. And God then shows me, oh Lord, help me. Yeah. So in December, I got rid of Diet Coke, and cause for a while it was like 1 Diet Coke a day, and then it became 2 or 3. And then it's like, oh, I need Diet Root Beer. Oh, I need this. I need all these drinks. And I'm wondering why every night I'm like, my belly is all bloated out because I'm like drinking all these diet drinks. And so I had to get myself off of that again, right? Or stop saying I can have just one. I can't. Mm-hmm. Like, I want a few.
Yeah.
And so that was one recent. And then even more recent than that, sugar-free gum.
Mm.
I am like 72 days, or I don't know. I have an app. Let me look. Let me see how many days I am clean.
Wow, from
It's
sugar
true.
mom, like who would even? Wow.
72 days clean from sugar-free gum, and I didn't want to give it up. It's painful, or
Yeah.
else I wouldn't be counting it.
Yeah.
But I began to understand I was probably chewing a whole pack a day.
Wow.
And it's just that it was comforting to me. There's still days, and I'll, my husband can attest. I'll be like, I miss gum.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to, here's an important piece. I had to get the awareness that, because I do intermittent fasting, I was never having a clean fast because I was
Wow.
spiking my insulin. That's the only reason. I would never would have given this up.
Yeah.
But I now understand that that has fake sugar in it. So it was making me think food was coming all day long.
Yeah.
And it has calories and carbs. I realized like I was eating a whole like 100-calorie snack, but I was just chewing it.
You may have well just had the candy bar and then
Exactly. I
yeah.
was like, wait a minute, let me do the math here on 26 times 5. Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of a lot. So it became aware. I became aware. Then I fought against it. Oh, I can't give that up. Who can live without sugar-free gum? Well, I found out there's a whole lot of people who live without sugar-free gum.
Yeah.
And it's those simple things. I've given up driving to Starbucks every day. Now I drink black coffee. I mean, it's these little things that you think I could never do that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, this thing, I mean, is that an addiction that's going to kill me? No, of course not. But it's the willingness, and then I had to find replacements. So here's where I'm going to show you some goofy things. I mean, anything. I mean, for a while I was chewing on a cinnamon stick.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I got all these cinnamon flavored toothpicks.
Yeah.
Okay, because like after you eat, in the app, some people want to smoke.
Yeah.
Okay, but I used to put in a piece of gum.
Yeah.
So I've had to wean myself off with these other little pieces. There's something called Wow Drops.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a promotional, I'm not getting a kickback from any of this.
Yeah.
But like I had to come up with we'll just call it a relapse prevention plan to get me the oral support. And that's where, AA meetings, OA meetings, DA meetings, all the meetings, they help you get tools and new ways of coping that you don't have, or else you wouldn't be doing the behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of the fancy, I always say I go to a fancy AA group. Well, but we all have the same affliction.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much money you make at all. It doesn't matter, how pretty you are. When I first walked into my AA meeting, I was like, oh Lord, that my life has ended. But these look like, it just looks like church folk. And I was like, there's actually good looking men here. So I think I'll be all right.
Yeah. You were single at the time, like, hello. Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's anything that that we become dependent on.
Yeah.
Anything that we can't stop, anything we come dependent on, the way kind of I look at it too is it's anything that in a unhealthy way distracts me from who I really am.
Right.
And kind of gets in that way.
And like you were saying, I mean, we have a bunch of them all day long, TV and Facebook and the news and Netflix and you're not going to get killed by Netflix, but are you gaming? Are you playing Words with Friends?
Yes.
All day long, so you aren't paying attention to your child.
Right. So it distracts us from our real life and what's happening around us. Do we use it to distract us and so we don't have to deal fully with what's happening in our life?
Right.
Yeah.
And learn how, the main thing is we talk about kind of de-thawing, unthawing.
Yeah.
When I don't have booze or sugar-free gum or nachos or to keep me tamped, I'm gonna be like a raw feeling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel the things that I haven't felt in 14 years.
That's right.
I'm gonna be sad, I'm gonna be like, I didn't think I was angry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're going to like go, wow, maybe I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it allows you to feel what's really happening. So instead of keeping those things buried and running you from the inside without you even being conscious of it, it creates space for that stuff to start coming up so we can heal it and
Yeah,
let it go.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the miracle of, it's one thing to be sober. It's a different thing to be in recovery.
Yeah.
So, and what do I mean by that? Sober, a lot of people don't go to 12-step programs and they just are sober, but they haven't learned all the reasons why, that they call it a dry drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. So another term for people who don't understand AA is that recovery could also be known as healing.
Yes, healing.
So you can be an alcoholic and drink and then stop drinking and never heal, and you can be an alcoholic and stop drinking and then start the process of healing, and you can change alcohol to any other thing that's for any of us. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
We each have our own things that we use to cope and distract us, and it's about becoming aware of that, looking at how we can change that and heal through that, and then come out on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most people get scared. I am very vocal about mine. Other people aren't.
Yes.
It's called anonymous. I get to decide.
That's right.
So I get to decide. I don't get to out anybody else.
Yes.
So like my role and the position that God put me in, I felt like it was important for me to use my platform.
Yeah.
I wrote a book about it. It's on YouTube. And so I made it very public, but most people don't do that. You won't do that. You can go to a meeting and no one will ever know who you are. And that was really important to me at the very beginning. And it still is. Of course, I'm friends with a lot of these people in real life.
Yeah.
So they know who I am out here.
Right. Yeah.
But when I first walked in those doors, I needed them to not know.
Yeah. That's right.
I needed to just be Diane's seat, sit my butt in the seat and receive. I needed to receive love, healing, because I really was just really feeling very broken.
Yeah.
And overwhelmed and shame filled. I was just very filled with shame.
Yeah. And shame, I mean, and everything you just described is so heavy. It's
Mm-hmm.
really heavy, and we don't realize how much those things can weigh us down.
Yes.
And until we start to let them go, and it's like it can be like losing,
Yeah. A lot of weight.
tons of physical weight, but sometimes emotional weight seems to be even heavier than physical weight.
It is. And sometimes they go together, but
Yeah.
really a lot of it is, releasing all the things that are weighing me down, old mindsets, all my fears, all my old resentments from 2 days ago and 20 years ago,
That's
right? Because all of that is like and I don't think about these things every day. I don't think I'm thinking about them.
Yes.
But part of the 12-step process is step 4 and 5, and we might have another call about diving into some of the process. But step 4 and 5 is the searching and fearless moral inventory,
Mm-hmm.
where we write down our fears, we write down our anger and resentment.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was angry because I was getting depressed. I went towards the depressed side.
Yeah.
And turned it inward. And so there's a whole process through the 12 steps. And, and then we eventually make amends in step 8 and 9. That's not step 2. We don't go running around, oh, I'm an alcoholic, and then running down the street making amends. We're not ready.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot.
Making amends means, apologizing to the person that you've hurt or other people that you've hurt, right?
Yeah. And the most important person I have to make amends to is myself.
Yeah. That self-trust and that self-love that you've kind of eroded through your behaviors.
Mm-hmm. And the final 3 steps are about, we call them the maintenance steps.
Okay.
And talk about, step 12 is practicing these principles. Everything I've learned after I've had a spiritual awakening because I have,
Yeah.
I've had a spiritual transformation.
Yes.
So it's about taking it out to the world. That's what, so living the 12 steps means I am talking about this right now.
Yes.
It means I'm helping a girl that just got out of rehab.
Yeah.
It means that I am willing to willing to do things I don't want to do. I don't want to take a phone call.
Brave and vulnerable around it, even when it doesn't feel comfortable, but it's in service to yourself, it's in service to God, it's in service to others.
Yeah. And it keeps me sober. And they always say that, if you stayed sober and they drank, it doesn't matter, you're sober.
Yeah. No, I get it. I talk about the stuff, and I'm working on my stuff from the inside out, and I say that first I feel called to talk about the stuff that I'm talking about and to have conversations like this, but it forces me to stay in a space that that I want to be in spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, sometimes it is uncomfortable, but also sometimes it's what we have to do for ourselves. And each person has to figure that out. And I'm realizing everything's a very individual journey. And we're each on our own journey. And if I try to compare myself to you, then I'm just going to mess myself up even more. We're both on the journey. We're going together, but we're each on our own journey. And we're here to support each other and share with each other and all of those things. But it's about our journey. We can help each other, and what that looks like, it looks different for each of us. And so it's about coming back to ourselves and starting to become aware of what's real and what's happening in our own lives. And is it serving us or is it not? And if it's not, what can I do to begin to start to transform that into something that is purposeful and meaningful in my life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important to say, for the sake of those listening, you're never late. You're not running late.
No.
Like the first, in one of the AA meetings, there's this older man, and he wears a big black cowboy hat, and he said, the only meeting you were ever late to was the first one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that even mean? And then you get it. Like, oh, but then they say, you got here the day you were supposed to arrive. And so whenever that day is, and you might have to start over and over again. When you first go into you get what's called a desire chip. And I have my desire chip. I have a 1-year chip sitting right here, and I have a 2-year chip. These are from Overeaters Anonymous. Excuse me. But we're all going to get there the day we need to get there.
That's
and
right.
We don't need to, we're not too old, you're not too late, you're not too fat, you're not too, bankrupt, or whatever the thing is you're going to tell yourself. Healing is healing.
That's right.
And, you and I talking about this today is inspiring. This keeps, this is so good.
I love it. I love this stuff. It's healing for you. It's healing for me. And hopefully, whoever's listening can find something in it, whether they, have some type of addiction or awareness of an addiction or whatever. Hopefully, my trust is in God that the people who are supposed to hear this will hear this. And what we each take from it looks different. But when we get real and can talk about things, I feel like there's only goodness that can come from it. Okay, and I know we're running out of time. I want to end on one final question real quick, because this to me is what's most important. And one of the things that I've loved about our friendship is that we can be, fun and crazy and all of that, but our spiritual life and our connection with God is very important, most important. And so speak quickly on how has this changed your relationship with God?
It's even better, so much better.
Yeah.
Because God knows all of me, and he knew this was happening. He knew it was coming. And I don't know what I think I was living a double life. I was living a kind of Christian life and running a Christian company and still having all this shame and behaviors. So for me, it's given me even closer spiritual God connection.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not perfect. It was never supposed to be.
That's right.
And God knows all of my addictive behaviors, and He made me this way. And so
He
I get
loves you in spite of it.
yeah,
He loves
I
you in
get the
spite of
honor.
it.
I get the honor of channeling, my workaholism towards helping find healing for myself and for others, and sharing these messages.
Yeah, yeah. It gave you an opportunity to kind of get out of your own way to deepen that
Yeah.
relationship, because God's been there like waiting for you forever. So yeah. Okay, I love this. And yes, I want to come back and talk some more. I think talking about the food thing, hello, yes, um,
Yeah.
would be good. I think a lot of women can, women and men, but
Right.
mostly women in this group can relate to that. So I would love to have you back on to talk about that. And then I would love to have you come back on and let's talk a little bit more in detail about the 12 steps. I know the first time I read the 12 steps, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the process, this is the journey, this is a path to God,
Hmm.
spiritual enlightenment. And so I want to talk more about that, and I want to talk more about how we can break those steps down and people use them in their everyday lives
Yeah.
for everything that's going on.
I'm up for it, sister. Let's
I
do
love
it.
you.
I love you too. This is awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay. And say your website again, or how people can find you if they want.
Sure. Yeah. You can find me at DianeCunningham.com, DianeCunningham.com.
Okay. All right. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, Jen.
Bye.